Well, good evening there to you, ladies and gentlemen. Scott Manning coming to you live from Scott Manning YouTube Sports Talk. I want to thank all of my loyal viewers for being with me here tonight. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the series premiere of the Scott Manning College Basketball Podcast Show. I will take your questions, your comments tonight. This is going to be a great show. I've got a great feeling about this. I want to thank all of my loyal viewers for being with me here this evening. I want to apologize for the late start, but my device that I'm using, son, has a little bit of a bellyache. I'm trying to get the cobwebs out of it. I want to thank you, but anyway, thank you guys for being so loyal to me here this evening, and we have a lot to talk about here tonight. Let's get started. We're going to talk about some games from Tuesday night, then we're going to talk about the games from Wednesday and Thursday, and I'm going to get you ready for the weekend. I'm going to be here for about the next 45 minutes, and we're going to have for the next 45 minutes to an hour. Let's have a great show, and let's get started. Now, we had two big games from the Jimmy V Classic on Tuesday night in Madison Square Garden. Oklahoma-Notre Dame was one of them. Oklahoma took care of Notre Dame 85-80. Now, after the game, Oklahoma coach Lon Kruger said they hung in there, and he was right. They did hang in there. And the Notre Dame three-point shooting was awful. I'll get to that in a second. But if you stop and think about this, in the game on Tuesday, Christian James, 25 points, 10 big rebounds in that game. Very impressive. And I'm going to tell you right now, 10 and 19 from the field, that was very impressive for him too. Brady Manuels, he was 17 points, 8 rebounds in that game. He stepped up too. That was huge on his part. Now, Oklahoma for the game was very impressive. 15 of 29 from three-point land. That's 51.7%. Very sweet. Now, they only had 8 trips to the free throw line, nailed 6 of them for 75%. That was it. 43 rebounds, 19 assists as a team. That was very impressive. Now Oklahoma coach Lon Kruger said after the game, they hung in there, and they won it. But let's think about the Oklahoma leadership. Think about this. Oklahoma has got leadership this time. Christian James, 19.1 points per game. He stepped up in a big way. Jermaine McNeese, he only averages 9.9 points per game. He stepped up too. Mike Reynolds, 9.1 points per game. Very impressive. Aaron Clackside, 9 points per game, and Brady Manuels, 8.9 points per game. You want to talk about leadership for the Oklahoma Sooners? They've got it this time. What will happen to the Sooners this year? Hopefully they'll do better than they did last year. And I'm going to tell you right now, I know this is past history, but they had no business being in the NCAA tournament 1 year ago. I'm not going to lie to you. I was disgusted when the committee put him in. And don't give me that Trae Young crap. Now, that's last year. It's time to move on. But I'm going to tell you right now, Oklahoma this year hopefully will be the real deal in the Big 12. Let's think about it. They got a better team. They got some great leadership from Christian James. That's a true leader right there. And I'm going to say it. If anybody thinks that Christian James knows his stuff, you got to know. You think Lon Kruger, those guys, those Oklahoma skeptics, they hung in there all night. 51.7% from three-point land. That was very impressive. And they out-rebounded Notre Dame, too. Notre Dame coach Mike Bree said after the game, we just got outplayed all night. We did everything we could. We just couldn't get to them. Well, let me tell you something. Everybody worries about us. Come on. Oh, there we go. Notre Dame better be worried this time because they got UCLA on Saturday night. And I'm going to tell you now, that's going to be a game worth the watching. Here we go. Now, that's going to be a game worth watching on Saturday night. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. There's concerns there. But Oklahoma's got Wichita State. And the Wichita State Shockers play angry all the time. That would worry me there, too. And that's all I'm going to say about that game for right now. Keep your questions and your comments coming. Well, I'm going to be here for the next 45 minutes to an hour. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, I will be more than happy to take them right here on the air. Now, let's move on. The other game in the Jimmy V Classic. West Virginia versus Florida. Florida took that game 66-56 on Tuesday night. Florida, they won it. This game, the Gators won this game at the free throw line. 28-46 for 60.9%. Almost 61% from the free throw line. Well, 61% from the free throw line is not good. It's definitely not good, but it was good enough for Florida to win. Keyshawn Allen, 19 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists for Florida on Tuesday night. Chase Harler, 11 points, 4 for 5 from the field, 3-4 from three-point land. Issam Ahmad, 7 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Now, I know I said that Florida went 28 of 46 from the free throw line for 60.9%. If you look back and think about the shooting for the game for both teams, it's a miracle they won. And I'll get to that in a minute. And after the game, Florida coach Mike White said this is the biggest win of the young season. And he's right, because the Gators are trying to stay at least ahead in the SEC. And I'm going to tell you right now, Florida was lucky they won. That West Virginia shooting was bad. As a matter of fact, West Virginia coach Bob Huggins said after the game, we have some guys who need to grow up. And he's right. Listen to the numbers for West Virginia. West Virginia, 19 of 64 for 29.7% from the field. That was it. 3-point shooting, 7 of 23 for 30.4%. Horrible. Free throws, 20 trips to the free throw line, they got 11. That's only 55%. And yes, I will give West Virginia this. They out-rebounded Florida 48-45. 21 turnovers. That's what killed them. And I'm going to tell you right now, West Virginia coach Bob Huggins, this is what Bob Huggins should have done after the game. He should have went into that locker room, started cussing like Bobby Knight used to do, drop a bunch of F-bombs to motivate these guys. I hate to say it, but sometimes the F-bomb or cussing and swearing like a sailor is the only way you can get the point across, that they got to show up and ready to play. Because I did not see the intensity on Tuesday night from West Virginia. I'm sorry. But when you only go 19 to 64 from the field for 29.7%, you're going to lose. 55% from the free throw line, you're going to lose. You turn the ball over 21 times. If you turn the ball over 21 times and win a ball game, you don't deserve to win. That's all there is to it. But I'm going to say this, though. Bob Huggins was very mellow after the game. I would have been yelling and screaming about it. But it is what it is. Now, as far as Florida goes, they got Michigan State tomorrow. That's a 12 noon game on CBS. And West Virginia faces their old nemesis, their old Big East nemesis Pitt, in a temporary version of the backyard brawl on Saturday. And I'm going to tell you right now, West Virginia is going to go in there fired up. My heart goes out to the Pitt Panthers because they're going to be facing old West Virginia, and they're going to be in a very crappy mood. And I'm not going to go any further here this evening on that. All right. And remember, questions, comments, keep them coming. I want to hear from you. Let's get some viewers. Let's get some guys. I want to hear some comments from you. Question and comments during the show. If you want to leave them after the show, I'll be more than happy to take them. Now let's move on. Tuesday night's game of the night. Providence versus Boston College. Providence coach Ed Cooley must be living a charmed life. It is a miracle that Providence won 100-95. A.J. Reeves hit the clutch 3 at the end of regulation. And think about this too. The player for the night in this game is Isaiah Jackson. He nailed 5 free throws in the final 33.9 seconds to win that game. Ed Cooley said afterwards, these guys know how to step up in a clutch situation. But I wish they'd make it easier for me because my poor heart can't take it anymore. And he's right. Ed Cooley of Providence, the head coach of Providence, Ed Cooley, must be living a charmed life. He's been lucky to win ball games this season. This poor guy, I don't know what to say anymore. But I'm going to be honest with you. What Ed Cooley and Providence pulled off on Tuesday night was remarkable. Boston College coach Jim Christian went with a small lineup. Providence started three freshmen as it has for most of the season. Well, let's think about these numbers for a minute. Providence, 34-71 from the field, 47.9%. They shot 9 of 21 from three-point line for 42.9%. Now, despite the fact they only went 23-34 for 67.6%, they won the ball game. A.J. Reeves, 24 big points. Alpha Diallo, he fouled out of the game, but he had 15.6 rebounds. Nate Watson, another hero. 19 points, 10 rebounds. He had a double-double in the game. Isaiah Jackson, Mr. Clutch from the free throw line. 5 free throws on the line in the final 33.9 seconds. That's how Providence won this game. Now for Boston College, Jordan Chapman had 28 points. Kai Bowman, he only had 17.7 rebounds. Stephen Mitchell, a double-double for him. I hate double-doubles in a losing effort. 10 points, 11 rebounds in that ball game. But I'm going to be honest with you. This game, it was hard to tell. Boston College, they went 26 of 58. That's 44.8%. That's very good. But the three balls are what killed them. Only 7 of 20 for 35%. Now, Boston College did do fantastic from the free throw line. 36 of 45 for 80%. And he out-rebounded Providence 40 to 39. But I think it was turnovers that hurt Boston College. 16 turnovers to Providence's 10. But I'll tell you right now, Mr. Clutch in the end was Isaiah Jackson. 5 free throws in the final 33.9 seconds. Hi, sis.
Hi.
How was your day?
Fine.
How's Gail?
I didn't see you over there.
Okay. So how was your day at work?
Fine.
Hey, how would you like to come over and say hello to some of my viewers?
That's okay.
All right. I just figured I offered. And my sister just walked in the door. She's had a rough day at work. But anyway. Providence coach Ed Cooley must be living a charmed life. And I'm going to be fair to you. This was a hard game for Cooley. And if you look at Ed Cooley's hairdo, you can see big old clumps of hair that are missing. I'm kind of surprised he didn't pull more out. But it is what it is. Providence is in a much better position. And I'm going to tell you right now, Providence plays UMass tonight at home. And that game's in about 30 minutes from now. And also, too, for Boston College, they got Texas A&M on Saturday night. What else can you say? What a battle this was on Tuesday night. Bottom line. And Ed Cooley, you don't have much of a chance to calm down. And that's all there is to it. All right, that was the Tuesday games. Let's look ahead to some games from this past week. Let's look at I got 2 big games from the Big Ten. Michigan, that involve Michigan and Ohio State. Now, let's talk about Michigan first. I want to get the Wolverines. I want to get that state up north out of the way. Michigan escaped over Northwestern 62-60 on Wednesday night. Wow. Let's think about this for a minute. For Michigan, they shot 24-55 for 43.6% in the ball game. They only went 5 of 20 from three-point land. That's only 25%. You cannot live and die by the three anywhere, in any conference anymore. You can't live and die by the three. That's what some of these coaches need to start preaching. Now, Michigan, 69.2% from the free throw line. They only had 13 visits to the free throw line all night, and they only went 9 of 13. Now, Michigan out-rebounded Northwestern 33-26, and both teams only had 9 turnovers and 12 assists in the game. Ingus Brzezakis, 23 points. That was big. Jordan Poole, 15 points. Xavier Simpson, 10 points. That was, I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to be fair to you. Let's think about this for a minute. It was a bad game for Michigan. They barely squeaked by Northwestern. Northwestern shot better from the field, 23 for 51 for 45.1%. 3-ball shooting, they were 6 of 17 for 35.3%. And they only had 13 trips to the free throw line themselves. They only went 8 of 13 for 61.5%. And Northwestern, and it was the rebounds that decided this ball game. Michigan out-rebounded Northwestern 33-26. Derek Pardon, 20 points, 5 rebounds. Vic Law, 19.7 rebounds himself in that game on Wednesday, on the other night. Michigan coach John Beilein said we won, but I'm not happy with our performance. We should have beaten Northwestern going away. And he's right. Northwestern's basketball program, let me put it to you this way. The Northwestern theater program is better than the basketball team. It's supposed to be. I mean, Northwestern's supposed to be pathetic at basketball. That's all there is to it. And I'm going to say this now. If I was Michigan coach John Beilein, I'd be saying, we got to wake these guys up. And that's all there is to it. And I'm not going to talk about anything further about the Michigan-Northwestern game. Yes, Michigan's all alone in first place in the Big Ten. I'll give them that. But when you get into conference play with teams like, when you get ready to face teams like Iowa, Purdue, Michigan State, and Ohio State, you better look out, Michigan, because your undefeated Big Ten streak is going to be on the line. I know the season's young. I grant you. But I'm going to tell you this now. You can't win close ball games like this against a team like Northwestern. If you want to compete in the Big Ten, you got to run away with the teams towards the bottom of the division. Or the bottom of the conference, I should say. All right. Number 19, I want to talk about, the other big game out of the Big Ten I want to talk about is, actually there's going to be a couple more, there's about three more games, actually 4 more games that involve the Big Ten. Then we're going to go into the fun stuff. And I'll tell you right now, this weekend is going to be very fun. I want to talk about number 19 Ohio State against Illinois. Now, Ohio State was almost half asleep in the first half. I mean, you need a wake-up call? You got a wake-up call. Ohio State coach Chris Holtmann got a technical foul because there was a foul that should have been called at the Ohio State basket that wasn't. Holtmann was about halfway on the court. He did his best Bobby Knight impersonation, started screaming at the officials. He got teed up. Apparently, that technical foul woke up the team. Let's think about this for a minute. Ohio State, 24-51. That's 47.1% from three-point land. 6 of 17 from three-point land. Okay, these guys need to stop living and dying by the three ball. They shot 35.3% from three-point land. Now, Ohio State was 23-32 for 71.9% against Illinois. Now, Caleb Wesson, 13.7 rebounds. Keyshawn Woods, 18.4 rebounds. Musa Jallo, pretty nice night coming off the bench. 11 points, 9 rebounds. Almost a double-double coming off the bench. For Illinois, Kipper Nichols, 18 points to 5 rebounds. Trent Frazier, 18 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. How in the world did Ohio State keep from suffering the upset? Very simple. The shooting from the field for Illinois was just awful. 19 of 58 for 32.8%. From three-point land, they shot 6 of 19 for 31.6%. Now they were fantastic from the free throw line, 23 of 27 for 85.2%. They could hit free throws, but they just couldn't. But they got out rebounded 38-34. And you know the sad part about this for good old Illinois, they have lost 12 games in a row to ranked teams. Illinois coach Brad Underwood said, "We still have a lot of work to do. We still got a lot of things we got to work on." But I'm disappointed in our effort tonight. We had Ohio State on the rope, so we let them off the hook. And you know the other thing that stuck out about this game was at the United Center in Chicago, the home of the Bulls and the Blackhawks. The crowd attendance for this game, listen to this, 5,285. They barely got 5,200 people into the United Center in Chicago. And that's an NBA arena. That's a 20,000 seat arena in the NBA, and about 15 to 20,000 when the Blackhawks play. It was a sad night for Illinois. They had a chance, but they got them off, but they let Ohio State off the hook. Now, what's next for Ohio State? What's next for Ohio State? They got almost 2 weeks off. Then they face Bucknell on December 15th. And then Illinois, they got UNLV on Saturday night. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Ohio State was living a charmed life. They've got 2 weeks to prepare for Bucknell, but they need to be thinking about conference play too, because conference play is well underway in the Big Ten. Okay, the next game I want to talk about. Number 24 Nebraska versus Minnesota. The Golden Gophers got a minor upset. Let's think about this for the Gophers. For the Minnesota Golden Gophers, the shooting from the field is what gave it to them. And they out-rebounded, and Minnesota out-rebounded Nebraska too. I'll get to that in a second. Amir Coffey, 32.6 rebounds for Minnesota in the victory. Jordan Murphy, 18 points, 13 rebounds, a double-double for him. Gabe Clashier, 12 points, 2 assists. Daniel Oturi, 10 points, 9 rebounds. And I'm going to tell you right now, Minnesota shot 29 of 56 from the field for 51.8%. Now, despite the fact they only went 3 of 8 for 37.5% from three-point land, they shot a very impressive 24 of 32 from the free throw line. That's 75%. And Minnesota did out-rebound Nebraska 37-29. Now, for Nebraska, a little bit of a disappointment. Isaiah Shepard Jr. Actually, Isaiah Copeland Jr. My apologies there. 17.7 rebounds. Let me back up. Isaac Copeland Jr. Let me try that again. Isaac Copeland Jr. My apologies there. My handwriting's a little hard to read. I can't even read my handwriting anyway, sometimes. My apologies there. 17.7 rebounds. Isaiah Roby, 15 points, 4 rebounds in the game. Glenn Watson Jr., 14 points, 4 assists. James Palmer Jr., 11 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Now, Nebraska, they could have done better from the field. 25 of 61 from the field for 45.5%. 3 balls, 7 of 21. These teams that love to live and die by the three, it doesn't work. That was only 33.3%. Now, Nebraska did go 15 of 19 from the free throw line for 78.9%. They got out-rebounded, out-assisted, and despite the fact they only had 10 turnovers, they still lost. Now, Minnesota from three-point land is doing much better. From three-point land in the opener, in the Big Ten opener, they were what, 0 for 13? But the Minnesota defense did step up in the game against Nebraska this past week. Just James Palmer, he was only 3 of 14 from the floor all night. And also, too, the Golden Gophers were playing with a heavy heart. Minnesota learned that Dupree McBayer's mother, his mom, Tanya McFarland, died after a long battle, after she had a long battle with breast cancer. So let's think about this. They were already playing with a heavy heart. So literally, they had something to play for. Now, McBayer, he only had 5 points, 4 assists in the game. Yeah. Now, what's next? Nebraska faces Creighton on Saturday. Minnesota faces Arkansas State. But let's go back to Dupree McBayer's mother. I lost my mom to breast cancer about almost 10 years ago. And also, too, our meteorologist at 10 TV here in Columbus, Chris Bradley, our chief meteorologist, passed away after his long battle with leukemia. We got to cure this disease, folks. That's all there is to it. Now, Nebraska coach Tim Miles said, we had a chance to win this ball game, and we couldn't get the job done. Minnesota coach Richard Pitino said, our team knew what we had to do. I was very impressed with our team. Amir Coffey, 32 points for the game. Jordan Murphy, 18 points, 13 rebounds. And I'm going to tell you right now, they got the job done. And that's all there is to it, my friends. And this was a great week. This was a great game between Nebraska and Minnesota. Minnesota got the upset. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. There's something called getting the job done, and they got it done. All right, I got 2 games left that I want to talk about. Then we're going to get into the Saturday showdown. Number 23, Maryland versus Purdue. Purdue got the upset 62-60. Carson Edwards, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 9 of 9 from the free throw line. Aaron Wheeler, 15 points, 3 rebounds, 3 of 4 from three-point land, 6 of 7 from the field. Matt Harms, 10 points, 6 rebounds in the game. Let's think about this for Purdue for a minute. Purdue shot 20 of 50 from the field, 40%. 9 of 26 from three-point land, 34.6%. Now, they did shoot 81.3% from the free throw line. However, they only had 16 trips. And they got out-rebounded by Maryland 39-29. It was the rebound. I'll tell you what happened. This game was decided in the field. For Maryland, 20 of 57, they only shot 35.1% from the field. 9 of 27 from three-point land, that's only 33%. The free throw percentage was 78.6%. They only had 14 trips to the free throw line. Yes, Maryland did out-rebound Purdue 39-29, but they had 17 turnovers to Purdue's 16. Anthony Coven Jr., 18 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. 8 of 10 from the free throw line. That's pretty good, but in a losing effort, and when you only have 14 trips, not very good. Daryl Morsel, 12 points, 4 rebounds. Bruno Fernando, 9 points, 13 rebounds. He almost had a double-double in the game. Purdue coach Matt Painter said, I was very happy with our team's performance. We beat Maryland. We beat a top 25 team. I was very impressed with our performance. And I'll tell you right now, Maryland coach Mark Turgeron said after the game, he felt like there were 6 guys out there for Purdue. In the second half, keep this in mind, for Maryland, in the second half, they shot 28.6% from the field in the second half. And they were only 1 of 9 from the field and only scored 6 points in the final 7.5 minutes. So in a way, Maryland felt like there was like 6 guys out there for Purdue. And this game was a seesaw battle all night until Carson Edwards finally got warmed up. It was Carson Edwards' performance that decided it. Now, he may have only been 4 or 15 from the field, but he hit 3 big three-pointers. That was huge down the stretch. And that was big. Now, what's next? Maryland faces a Final Four team from 1 year ago in Loyola Chicago. What's next for Purdue? It don't get no easier. They got to face the Texas Longhorns on Sunday. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's going to be a fun game. That's going to be a game worth the price of admission. And I'm going to be honest with you. Purdue coach Matt Painter said, it's not going to get any easier. This was a seesaw battle. This was a hard one for us. And I'm already looking ahead to Texas. They've got a great basketball team too. I am not going to take the Texas Longhorns lightly. Maryland coach Mark Turgeron said, we got to face Loyola Chicago on Saturday. They were a Final Four team 1 year ago. I'm not taking Sister Jean lightly, and I'm not taking them lightly either. And I'm going to be honest with you. I am worried about this game. Let's see what happens. I mean, we got to shoot better, and our team's got to shoot better. And Mark Turgeron, you can't shoot 28.6% from the field and only go 1 of 9 from the field and only score 6 points in the final 7.5 minutes. I don't care who you are. This game should have been long decided, but it is what it is. And when you got Carson Edwards, yes, he only went 4 of 15 from the field, but he had 3 big three-pointers. And that's huge down the stretch. And I'm going to be honest with you. Let's see what happens on this big night. Let's see what happens going down the road. All right. One last game I want to talk about. Then we're going to talk about the big battles on a Saturday coming up this weekend. And there's a lot of them. Let's think about it. I'm not going to keep you guys in suspense much longer. One last game, then I'm going to move on to the weekend slate. That is Iowa State and number 18 Iowa. Number 18 Iowa got the victory over Iowa State, 98-84. Let's think about this for Iowa. 35 of 61, 57.4%. Very impressive. 9 of 18 from three-point land. 50%. Very impressive from three-point land. At the free throw line, Iowa had 23 trips to the free throw line, nailed 19, 82.6%. And they out-rebounded Iowa State 44-24. They out-assisted Iowa State 21-14. And despite the fact that Iowa had 18 turnovers, they still won. Tyler Cook, 26 points, 11 rebounds. Very impressive. Isaiah Moss, 20.7 rebounds. What a night for him. Nicholas Bear, 14.7 rebounds. Very nice for him. And he had 3 assists to go along with it. Connor McCaffrey, 12 points, 5 assists. He was 8 of 8 from the free throw line. Now, during the game, there were a couple of scuffles. There were some fireworks during the game. It all started with Connor McCaffrey going after when Iowa player Connor McCaffrey, the son of Fran McCaffrey, which is the Iowa coach, went after Michael Jacobson of Iowa State. They were having a shouting match, and it got out of control. And of course, And of course, Cordell Pencil shoved Jacobson, and then there was some fireworks. And then after the game, there was some post-game fireworks and a post-game shouting match, which people were not very happy about. But I'm going to tell you anyway. The sad part about this was there were some great people that could have played, but they all showed up. But there was some pushing and shoving during. There's no place for it. I'm sorry. It was a shouting match. Okay, you want to talk smack? If you want to talk about somebody, settle by playing the game. Don't settle by shoving somebody and trying to throw a punch. There's no reason for it. Now, this would have been about 10, 15 years ago. I would have said, come on, let's clear and let's have a good old-fashioned brouhaha. But I've grown up now. But I'm going to be honest with you. Iowa coach Fran McCaffrey said after the game, I was happy that our team won, but I was embarrassed by the way we acted during the game. And I mean, Iowa State coach Steve Prohm said, I was disappointed in our team. I know our team's frustrated, but come on. You got to say, don't settle in a fist fight. But let me tell you, there was some disgust in that game on both parts. It was a great game. But do you need the pushing and shoving and nearly having a bench-clearing brawl? No, you don't. You don't need it. I mean, some of these guys are 19, 20, 21-year-old kids. Guys, grow up, okay? You can't do that. And that's all there is to it. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before I move on to the Saturday slate, I need to give out it is now time to give out the Scott Manning Basketball Hard Worker Awards. What are these Hard Worker Awards worth? Just a pat on the back and an attaboy. But anyway, I want to recognize them. For the Oklahoma-Notre Dame game, I am going to give out one award. Christian James, 25 points, 10 rebounds. Congratulations, sir. You are a special recipient of the Scott Manning Basketball Hard Worker Award. Congratulations to you, my friend, and very well done. For the Florida game, for the Florida-West Virginia contest, there's really only one person that's worthy of it. Keyshawn Allen, 19 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. 5 of 13 from the field, 3 of 7 from three-point land, 6 of 9 from the free throw line. Keyshawn Allen, you've just got yourself a Scott Manning Basketball Hard Worker Award. Congratulations to you. You've earned that honor. I know it wasn't pretty, but you did it and you've earned it. And like I said, all these awards are worth it. Just a pat on the back and an attaboy. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's how I am. For the Providence-Boston College game, wow. I got to give like 3 awards out for this one. A.J. Reeves, 24 points. 8 of 18 from the field. 4 of 9 from three-point land. 4 of 7 from the free throw line. Congratulations, sir. You just got yourself a Scott Manning Basketball Hard Worker Award. Now, I'm going to give out another one. Actually, 2 more. Alpha Diallo, 15.6 rebounds, despite the fact you fouled out of the game. I'm going to give you a Scott Manning Basketball Hard Worker Award. Nate Watson, a double-double. 19 points, 10 rebounds, 7 of 11 from the field, 5 of 7 from the free throw line. Congratulations. Congratulations, Watson. You just got yourself a Scott Manning Basketball Hard Worker Award. And I'm going to give out one more. Isaiah Jackson, 5 clutch free throws in the final 33.9 seconds, 12 points, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. I'm going to give you a Scott Manning Basketball Hard Worker Award. And I'm going to tell you right now, these 4 guys from the Providence-Boston College game, they really earned them. For the Michigan Northwestern contest this past week, Ignas Brzezakis, 23 points, 9 of 18, 4 rebounds, 9 of 18 from the field, 3 of 6 for three-point land, 2 of 3 from the free throw line. There's only going to be one award given out for this one, and that goes to Ignas Brzezakis. Congratulations, sir. You just got yourself a Scott Manning Basketball Hard Worker Award. For the Ohio State-Illinois contest, this one is a hard one, but there is one person who is worthy of that award. Keyshawn Woods, 18 points, 4 rebounds, 6 of 10 from the field, a perfect 5 for 5 from the free throw line. Congratulations to you, sir. You just got yourself a Scott Manning Basketball Hard Worker Award. For the Nebraska-Minnesota contest, I'm looking at the information. I'm going to give out 2 awards For both of them for Minnesota. Amir Coffey, 32.6 rebounds, 6 assists. And Jordan Murphy, 18 points, 13 rebounds, a double-double for him. 8 of 10 from the free throw line. And Amir Coffey was 14 of 17 from the free throw line himself. So congratulations to Amir Coffey and Jordan Murphy. You two gentlemen have just got yourself a Scott Manning Basketball Hard Worker Award. For the Maryland-Purdue contest, and this is a big one too, Carson Edwards. I'm going to give out just one award. Carson Edwards, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 9 of 9 from the free throw line. Congratulations to you, Mr. Edwards. You just got yourself a Scott Manning Basketball Hard Worker Award. For the Iowa State game, I'm going to hand out 3 awards for this one. Tyler Cook, 26 points, 11 rebounds, 12 of 16 from the field. Isaiah Moss, 20.7 rebounds, 8 of 12 from the field, 4 of 5 from three-point land. Nicholas Baer, 14.7 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 of 6 from the field, 4 of 5 from three-point land. You know what? I'm going to hand out a 4th award. Connor McCaffrey, he may have only had 12 points, 5 assists, but he was 8 of 8 from the free throw line. So congratulations to the 4 of you gentlemen from Iowa. The 4 of you have just got yourself a Scott Manning Basketball Hard Worker Award. Congratulations to all my Basketball Hard Worker Award winners. And like I said, these awards are just worth a pat on the back and an attaboy and a great job. I know it doesn't sound like much, but that's about the best I can do. Now, let's move on to the weekend. Whoo, boy, we got a big slate this weekend. Let's start it out, and it starts right out at noon. Number 9 Kentucky versus Seton Hall. Kentucky took care of business last time out against UC Greensboro, 78-61. Reed Travis, 22 points. Sheldon Johnson, 13 points, and he averages 15.9 points per game. That's very huge, too. Now, Seton Hall took care of New Hampshire, 77-57. Sendell Michael Valish, 14 points, 11 rebounds. He got the job done, too. Well, let's see. What is so big about this game? Let's think about this for a minute. Now, Kentucky averages 84.4 points per game. That is very impressive. Now, they only average 69.7 points against per game, and they've won 7 straight. Kentucky coach John Calipari has said, I'll have my guys ready on Saturday against Seton Hall. I take every battle seriously all the way to the end. And the bottom line is we got a lot of guys that are willing to play their hearts out. Now, for Seton Hall, they may only average 72.6 points per game. But their points against is a little bit better at 66.5, and they won their last game against New Hampshire. Now, Quincy McKnight said after the game, he said, bring on Kentucky. Bring them on. We'll be ready for them. I have a lot of respect for Coach John Calipari and his guys, and that's all we can think about. And the bottom line is, this is going to be a very interesting game on Saturday. Now, if you think Kentucky-Seton Hall is going to be interesting, ladies and gentlemen, do you remember the old days of the old school Big East, Georgetown, Syracuse? Now, Syracuse took the high road and went to the ACC. But this game has old school Georgetown, Syracuse written all over it. Let's think about it. Georgetown took care of Liberty in their last game, 88-78. James Atkins, 19 points in the last game. He only averages 4.9 points per game. Jesse Galvin, 17 points, 10 rebounds. He averages 19.5 points per game. And Georgetown's coach Patrick Ewing has said, we got a much better team than we did a year ago. I think we can actually challenge in the Big East this time. Now, as far as Syracuse goes, they played Northeastern last time, and they took care of them 72-49. O'Shea Brissett, 21 points, 14 rebounds. He averages 16 points per game. Elijah Hughes, 17 points. He averages 14.1 points per game. Very impressive. Now, their leading scorer, Tyus Battle, he averages 17 points per game. In the last game against Northeastern, he only had 2 points for the game, 0-4 from three-point land, and 1-7 overall. Not very good. Syracuse coach Jim Boeheim has said, I'm going to have our team ready against Georgetown. This is an old-school rivalry. I'm going to be looking over there at Patrick Ewing, and I'm going to tell you right now, I've got old memories. and old memories don't fade. I want my revenge on Georgetown. But Jim Boeheim has basically said, we got a lot to worry about. And let me tell you right now, Jim Boeheim better be a little bit worried because Georgetown does average 80 points per game. But despite the fact they average 74.3 points against per game, Syracuse feels confident. But right now, Syracuse is only averaging 71.9 points per game and 61.1 points against per game. Both teams have won their last 4 games. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be very interesting to see how this game goes. And this is a 3:30 game at the Carrier Dome in Syracuse. And this game's on ESPN. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Boeheim and Ewing get along. You know those two absolutely do not like each other. There's no love loss because you got to remember, the old school Georgetown-Syracuse rivalry from the old days of the old Big East, I'm sure those memories have not faded in the minds of many. It hasn't faded from Ewing or Boeheim's mind, and you're going to see that probably on Saturday. And I'm not going to go any further about that because I got a lot of other stuff I want to talk about. Okay, let's move on. Number 3 Duke versus Yale out of the Ivy League. I know it sounds ridiculous that I'm talking about it, but Duke did take care of Hartford 84-54. And let's think about this a minute. We got a Duke has a dynamic freshman duo. R.J. Barrett, 23.1 points per game. Zion Williamson, 20.8 points per game. They're the only freshman duo in the country to have 2 players with that average more than 20 points per game. R.J. Barrett against Hartford, R.J. Barrett had 27 points. Zion Williamson had 18. That is huge. Now, Zion Williamson missed a few slam dunks, or otherwise this game would have been over a lot sooner than it was. I'll give Hartford credit. They hung in there for the first half. I was actually impressed with their performance in the first half. I mean, Duke, they didn't let Duke get away. But in the second half, Duke just went on a tear and just pulled away, and that's all there is to it. But you think Duke is big and bad with the freshman starters? I've got news for you. Do not take Yale lightly. Some of them Ivy League prep school boys, they can play basketball too. Here's a point. Now, Yale took care of Lehigh 97-87. Trey Phillips, he only averages 8.8 points per game. He had 20 points against Lehigh. Naioni, 18.8 points per game. He had 20 against Yale. Jordan Bruner, he averages 13 points per game, and that's what he had. 13 points against Lehigh. Blake Reynolds, 8.8 points per game. He had 12 against Lehigh. Alex Copeland, 11.2 points per game. He had 11 points against Lehigh. So I'm going to tell the Duke guys, I'm going to tell the Duke Blue Devils now, do not take these prep school boys lightly. They may be preppies, but they can sure as heck play basketball. And it was proven against Lehigh. Now, I know the Ivy League is a joke league to a lot of people. Don't take the Ivy League lightly. I've seen stranger things happen. And I'm going to be fair to you. It's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. And I'm going to tell you right now, and Duke, you may be number 3 in the country, but Yale is going to Yale could possibly pull off the upset, if you get what I mean. Now, the next game I want to talk about is number 12 Wisconsin versus Marquette. Now, Wisconsin took care of Butler in the last game, 69-64. Ethan Happ, 20 points. Demetric Trice, 14 points. West Virginia coach Greg Gard said, I got the 2 best players on my team right now. I think we can get the job done. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not taking the Big East lightly. Marquette's is a good basketball team. They got Marcus Howard. And Marcus Howard is a great player himself. 21 points against... Now, Marquette did beat UTEP 76-69, a little close for comfort. Marcus Howard did have 21 points. Joey Hauser had 18. Now, do not take, and also too, do not take Marquette lightly. Do not take Wisconsin lightly. That is what Marcus Howard told reporters after the game. And Marquette, they do average 76.2 points per game, but their points against is 66.4. Very impressive. And they have won the last 4. For Wisconsin, they average 73.8 points per game. And they do only have a points against per game average of 61.3, and they've won their last 3 games. So this game, to me, is probably going to be a little bit closer than a lot of people have anticipated. But I'm going to be fair to everybody. This is going to be a very interesting weekend and see how everything goes for the Wisconsin Marquette. The next game I want to talk about on the list is none other than Creighton versus number 24 Nebraska. Now, Nebraska is coming off of a bad loss to Minnesota, 85-78. Creighton is coming off of a loss to Gonzaga, 103-92. When Zach Norville Jr. went on a tear at 28 points against Creighton. Creighton coach Greg McDermott said, we had a bad game against Gonzaga. We actually scored 92, but they put 103. Not very good on our part. Greg McDermott said he's going to have these guys ready to go for the Nebraska showdown. Nebraska coach Tim Miles has said, we're coming off of a bad loss to Minnesota. Something's got to give tomorrow night. Something's got to give tomorrow, and that's all there is to it. And I was very disappointed with our team's performance. And that's all. I'm not saying anything further because I was disappointed. All right, let's move on. Number 11, Florida State versus UConn. Now, Florida State did take care of Troy 83-67. Florida State coach Leonard Hamilton said, I was very pleased with our performance. MJ Walker, 14 points. Trent Forrest, 13 points. RJ Savoy, 16 points. 16 points. He had four three-pointers in the game. Now, despite the fact Florida State had 17 turnovers against Troy, they got the job done. Now, the leading scorer, Terrence Mann, only averages 11.9 points per game. He struggled against Troy this past week. So there's some concerns there, too. As far as UConn goes, they're coming off of a bad loss to Arizona. Eric Cobb, 12 points. Jalen Adams, 21 points. And they had 19 turnovers against Arizona. You can't turn the ball over against a team out of the Pac-12. Can't do it. Now, for UConn, they do have a shot. They do average 85.6 points per game, and their points against per game is 73. Now, Florida State only averages 75.8 points per game, but their points against is 66.8. So something's got to give there. Got to give there tomorrow, and that's all there is to it. Florida State coach Leonard Hamilton said, "Bring on UConn. I know they're no longer in the Big East, but bring them on anyway. We'll do our best. We'll see what happens." Now, Jalen Adams said after the game, Florida State's a good basketball team. They're out of the ACC. After all those years of them struggling, they're a great team. Terrence Mann is one of their best players. We'll see what happens in that game on Saturday. Let's see how many more. Here we go. 2 left. Now, let's get you ready for the Sunday slate. All those games I've mentioned so far are Saturday games. This is for Sunday. Number 4, Virginia versus Virginia Commonwealth. Now, Virginia is coming off of a huge win over Morgan State, 83-45. Kyle Guy, he had 15 points. DeAndre Hunter, he had 15 points. He averages 16.4 points per game. Keep that in mind. But for Virginia Commonwealth, Marcus Evans, 19 points, 6 3-pointers in Virginia Commonwealth's big victory over Iona, 88-59. He averages 14.3 points per game. Keep that in mind. But also, too, for Virginia. Now, this is a Virginia team that prides itself on defense. They only average 74.8 points per game, but they only give away 51.5. And they've won 8 straight. Could they continue that winning streak over Virginia Commonwealth? Only time will tell that. For Virginia Commonwealth, they only average 68.4 points per game and 61.6 points against per game, but they won their last 2 contests. Now, if Virginia forces Virginia Commonwealth to play their style of basketball, it's going to be the first to 50 wins. That's all there is to it. But if Virginia Commonwealth can get red hot, and if Virginia Commonwealth can force Virginia to play their style of the game, it's going to be very interesting on Sunday. That's all there is to it. Now, let's close it out with the big battle on Sunday. Number 1 Gonzaga versus number 7 Tennessee. Now, for Gonzaga and Tennessee. Now, Gonzaga is coming off of a big 103-92 victory over Creighton this past week. Brandon Clark, 27 points, 10 rebounds. Zach Norville Jr., 28 points. Josh Perkins, 13 points, 11 assists. He averages 8.3 points per game. Now, Rui Mashera, 22 points, 11 rebounds. He averages 22.3 points per game. But also, too, Gonzaga barely escaped over Washington just a couple of nights ago, 81-79. So there's a lot of concerns there, too. Gonzaga coach Mark Hughes said the last 2 games have been up and down. We beat Creighton by 11, but we barely survived against Washington. That means our game against Tennessee this coming weekend is going to be very interesting to see how that goes. Now, Tennessee is coming off of a huge win over Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Amaro Schofield, 16 points. Kyle Alexander, a double-double, 12 points, 10 rebounds. Grant Williams, 14 points and 9 rebounds. He averages 20.4 points per game. Now, Tennessee has really grown up. And let's think about it. Coach Jeremy Pruitt has really turned the basketball program around. And you could thank Tennessee Athletic Director Philip Fulmer. And yes, this is the same Philip Fulmer that was the head coach of the football team. He is now the athletic director. The first hire he made was Jeremy Pruitt to turn the basketball team around. And Jeremy Pruitt has done a fantastic job. Tennessee is now a top 10 team. Could you imagine if they knock off Gonzaga? That would be huge for them. But let's think about this for Gonzaga. They average 96.4 points per game. Now they average 76.3 points against per game, and they've won the last 9 games. Tennessee, they average 83.7 points per game and 63.6 points against per game. They've won their last 2 games. So what's going to give on Sunday? Only time will tell that. But the bottom line is, it's going to be a very interesting game on Sunday between number 1 Gonzaga and number 7 Tennessee. And now, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, it is now time for my closing thoughts. This past week has been crazy. Number 5 Michigan is barely surviving Northwestern, to Ohio State coach Chris Holtman getting the technical foul to fire his troops up. And we've seen Bob Huggins speak in a mellow voice and say that some of his players need to grow up, and he's right on that. On Tuesday night, we saw a crazy battle between Providence and Boston College. And it proves that Ed Cooley's living a charmed life. Now, what will happen this weekend? We don't know. But I'm going to tell you, could we be in for some major upsets this weekend? Only time will tell that. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be very interesting to see how this weekend goes in college basketball. The bottom line is, the season's now well underway. We're into the month of December. And before you know it, we'll be into the heart of the conference schedule. Right now, this is just some of these games are just non-conference gimme games just to get before we get into the meat of the schedule. Well, what about the Duke Blue Devils? Some people have said the Duke has a 4-man freshman lineup, starting 5. Very impressive on their part. Zion Williamson and R.J. Barrett, look out for them. Could Yale, the prep school boys, the Ivy League prep school kids, could they upset the big bad boys from Duke? We'll have to wait and see what happens on Saturday. But the bottom line is, if this is going to be a very interesting game, and we'll see how everything goes. This is going to be a wild weekend. And also, too, we also have Syracuse and Georgetown, an old school Big East rivalry with a lot of memories and a lot of hurt feelings between Patrick Ewing and Jim Boeheim. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. Thank you so much for being with me, and I want to thank you so much for making the series premiere of the Scott Manning YouTube College Basketball Podcast Show a very successful one. Thank you guys so much, and I really do appreciate this from the bottom of my heart. You guys have a great night. Thank you so much for being with me, and it was a great honor to sit down with you to look back at the past week and get you ready for the weekend. I'll be back next Friday night I haven't decided on a time yet. I'll let you know that here during the coming week. But thank you guys so much for being with me here tonight. You guys have a great weekend. And I'll be back, and I'll also be back Monday morning with the weekend wrap-up of the college basketball weekend, and I'll also get you ready for Scott Manning Facebook Sports Talk Live Monday night at 6:30. Thank you guys so much for being with me. Have a great night, and thank you so much for being with me, and God bless.